Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ninth podcast of CIPS MENA Procurement Master Talk series. I'm your host, Lalit Dhamija, with 40 years of experience in procurement and supply. I am currently a trainer, a procurement trainer and coach after, uh, after my corporate career spanning 37 years. Today, I am honored to be joined by Engineer Yassr Abdelrahman. Hi, Mr. Yassir. You are welcome to the SIF MENA Procurement Master Talks from Sudan.
Hi, Mr. Lalit and everyone.
Okay. Uh, Mr. Yassir is MCIPS and he's chair of SIP Sudan Branch Committee. He is vice president of Greater Nile a petroleum operating company popularly known as GNPOC, and it is the premier oil company in Sudan. We will talk about number of subjects, and some of these will be like what changes were experienced during current pandemic and what are the post-pandemic scenarios for procurement, especially in North Africa, and what will be the impact of digitization and evolving technologies on procurement in the region. We will summarize the key learnings at end of the podcast. Um, okay, again, our guest for today for the SIFS MENA Procurement Talk Show from Sudan is Engineer Yassr Abdelrahman, and he is highly qualified senior management professional and is currently the vice president of GenPoc, as I already explained. He was a general manager, finance and administration of Sudapet. Sudapet is a national oil company in Sudan. He is currently pursuing an engineer doctorate from University of Technology Malaysia, and his research is on blockchain and smart contracts in supply chain. He has master in construction management from Bradley University, USA, with more than 18 years experience in multinational organizations. Mr. Yassir comes with a significant exposure in managing supply chain operations. Mr. Yassir, welcome once again to the SIFS Master Procurement Talk Show. And to start with, Mr. Yassir, our audience will like to know what can procurement do to have a maximum impact on an organization, especially in North Africa, in your local context there.
Okay. First, I'm honored and delighted, Mr. Lalit, on having me on your Master Talk series, which I watch them all. I think this is the ninth, if I'm correct.
That is right. This is the ninth podcast. Absolutely. Yes.
It is very insightful and full of knowledge having these talks, where every time I joined of more than, as you said, 37 years of your experience, plus 20 plus of the guests. So we're talking about 60 years of experience, and that itself is a remarkable contribution to the procurement profession. Personally, I have learned a lot from this accumulated experience in the Master of Source series, Mr. Lalit. And coming back to your very good question on what can procurement do to maximize the impact of an organization, and especially this question is very good for Sudanese organization, and I say in North Africa in general. I believe that procurement now is at the heart of the business. So they need to show that they are present always by acquiring the knowledge and skills, and also by raising their voice. I have seen here in Sudan and most of African companies that still procurement and supply department in some big organization or companies are under the control of other departments like finance. And I have been, as you mentioned, being a general manager of finance, and I've seen it very clearly. And I think procurement and supply chain personnel need to influence business leaders to demonstrate that procurement and supply chain gives a real competitive advantage. And it's a role far beyond the traditional, what we used previously to do, buy and sell, like buying and selling function. It goes far to the heart of the organization. And in our last webinar in Sudan, there were lots of debate in the questions about this role of the procurement versus to be under the finance or to be in by itself. In most of the companies, like Greater Nile, where I work, and other companies also, 70 to 80% of the expenses are done through procurement department. So it's time, and so it's time to make sure you have the right and skilled personnel and give them the authority. I'm telling not only the authority, but also the confidence to achieve good procurement practice, Mr. Lalit.
Absolutely. We have seen in the industries, depending on the industry, it is like 40 to 90% of the spend is through procurement, especially as we go towards electronic industries or these digitization companies. So there up to 90% of spend is through procurement. And I think you are the right person to talk about it. Like finance is our important stakeholder. Yes, we are working for the company. We are partners, strategic partners for the company. And of course, we have to work with finance. They control the budget. And Mr. Yassr, I believe you were in finance and administration department also. So you are the best judge. How can finance and procurement work together?
They need to work together in calibration and not to be in control. So with the emerging technology and also the pandemics and what we have seen in the world, and also, do you remember when we were in China for this summit? We have seen how procurement is merging and how it's becoming in the heart of the business these days. So I think calibration will enhance procurement, and it will also enhance the finance department.
Yeah, I vividly remember you were leading the speaker in Shanghai during last May during our summit there for procurement and sourcing. So, Mr. Yassr, what do you think of companies? Do you think the companies will change the way they work with their suppliers or customers due to the current coronavirus?
I think, Lalit, the coronavirus is a wake-up call. I used to say it's a wake-up call for every time, especially to the supply chain management. Company will eventually realize the importance of supply networking mapping as a risk mitigation strategy. And if I recall Sam's speech in one of the master talk you have interviewed, where he said, if I still remember his words, he said that he said that I'm not going to recall his word, but almost what he said.
Still concept,
that he said this pandemic did not change the face of the thinking of what best practice in procurement, fundamental practice.
Right.
It only emphasized the importance of best practice, and I think this is a very, very nice word.
I vividly recollect, and I had emphasized that in the key learnings. Absolutely, the best practices remain. We have to see our gaps, where our gaps were, and try to bridge that gap and learn from our experience. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and further, he mentions the supply relation, contract clauses like force majeure due to this pandemic, and also contract management, how to manage the contract with events happening this.
Okay. And what about, yes, sir. Please.
I want to add to this one, and I believe he's what he said. I do really absolutely is right, and I want to add what he said. The importance of collaboration within the department. We have just mentioned about department like finance, procurement, logistic, purchasing, warehouse, and even engineering, and
Yeah.
even suppliers
Yes.
may join if required.
Yeah.
They all need to work together to identify the gaps, and
Yes.
critical items need to be addressed to protect the company from similar, like what happened now, these disruptive events.
Yes.
Like coronavirus and all of this. And
Right.
I also think that coronavirus will have a big impact in the local content. This is the good side of the coronavirus is
Yeah.
that
Yes.
it will have an impact, positive, I mean positive impact in
Yeah.
local content.
Yeah.
And all strategic procurement will focus locally as much as possible, and that in turn will enhance the quality locally, especially for countries which have the basic resources like Sudan, and I'm talking in Africa in general, because it's
Yes.
still I mean the resources are not utilized fully.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you have said. Like many departments working together, and also suppliers working in close coordination. We have, like in category management, this is a concept when procurement leads or coordinates this synergy with different departments as well as suppliers, market intelligence. We will have technical specification aspects, commercial aspects. So all these things are seen like in category management. But normally it should be our habit in procurement department, like you rightly said, to work closely with the stakeholders. Like stakeholders management is a big concept which is taught to us, and it has real benefits. And nowadays we are seeing when we are interacting with suppliers, it opens new doors for innovation, yeah, for cost control, for cost savings also, and value addition in general, you know.
Of course, yeah,
And I
yeah,
remember
sure.
when you are talking about local content, when I was in Khartoum and we were training for procurement and supply chain there, so number of times we referred to GenPOC procedures which were talking about local content. So
Yeah,
your like company is like really forward looking, and they're already incorporated in your procedures, and these procedures were written few years back. But only the point is like how to really implement it in the real life. And especially as you rightly said, uh, what we saw in the sourcing and what not so pleasant experiences with are with us for sourcing, if it was locally available, the situation would have been a bit different. And as you said,
yeah,
there has to be emphasis on local content. Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah. And then in GenPOC we have local content as a policy.
Yes.
Now with this pandemic, it's gonna be as a cost saving and also surviving and sustainability. So
Uh-huh.
local content will be focused
Yeah.
after this pandemic, I think, and especially big companies
Yeah, I
really need
believe
to sustain.
absolutely. I believe like in your profile, like you could really, it should be like a part of a national policy. In fact, like it has a potential to help procurement and supply and also local communities.
Yeah.
Moving on, Mr. Yasser, beyond this pandemic, how do you think small and big companies will react?
Well, that's really a difficult question, but you know, in our webinar in Sudan, we
Uh-huh.
introduced CEO people from big company, international company like
Uh-huh.
MENA, and they have the same view I have, which is these companies, small or big, will be categorized in three categories. And I think I believe some small company will continue working same as before, but they will be ready to leave the business once new technology arrive or
Uh-huh.
similar disruptive events happen again. And that's
Right.
because the change is so expensive. And I think you introduced Sarah in one of the talks, and she mentioned this one. When we talk about digitalization, it's really not cheap. You need to put some money to make it available and make it you can utilize it.
Yeah.
And I think other companies will enhance their communication and networking, but they will be ready to merge with other big companies to survive. But big companies will definitely change and cope with the new emerging technology, as lots of things will be digitalized in a short period. And I believe even the process will be simplified.
Yes.
And company will partner with suppliers, and as also Mr. Harry from North Emirate Chairman, CIPS Chairman branch.
Yeah.
He said one of the speech, I'm not sure if it's a Master Talk series of one of the webinars. We had some webinars together, but
yes.
He said that future procurement need to focus more on sustainability than survival.
Yeah.
And this will be found very strange, especially from shareholders to understand it. But I totally agree with this one. And also, the way tendering process will not be the same anymore. Like, we're not going to find the lower price and all that, but more on technical and commercial business requirement.
Yeah.
So this is, I really fully support this one.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up this sustainability rather than survival thing. This was discussed in our podcast, my podcast with Hariharan Lakshminarayanan. And of course, companies have to be sustainable to exist,
To survive,
and, to survive. So if they are in profit, they will be surviving. And then they have to take care of people and the environment also. So good concept. Mr. Yassr, what will be the impact of digitization and evolving technologies on procurement? Will online and digitization play a bigger role from now on? And especially in your context, in the context of North Africa and Sudan?
That's also another very good question. Personally, Lalit, on personal level, I was doing my PhD in local content.
Right.
But after our summit in Shanghai, I changed to smart contract and blockchain because I've seen it very clearly that the future in this emerging technology and the big impact it will have in the supply chain. So, so this is on personal level, but I think digitalization and the evolving technologies such as blockchain and smart contract will be accelerated. I know it will not start soon, as one of the talk of Sarah had mentioned, but as lots of industries are yet to be digitalized, but definitely it will play a big role years to come in the business sectors, and especially in the supply chain, Lalit.
Yeah.
And I think after this pandemic, and I like to name it, as I said, a wake-up call.
Yes.
Business around the world will be based on trust, transparency, and of course, cost value of money. And I see blockchain and smart contract technology as the best platform for these factors.
Right.
And these companies, I mean, the big or small, I mean, like it or not, need to understand that this technology is moving very fast, Mr. Lalit, and changes is happening and cannot be stopped.
Yes.
And to survive, you need to understand these coming changes. I have seen banks, agents, suppliers, and even lawyers are changing to cope with this upcoming technology. Look at the internet. I have went through the internet during my research, and I found lawyers are expected at first are trying to say that it cannot be things supply chain cannot be changed with emerging technology, but at the end, all of them agreed that this change will definitely come, and we have to cope with it. And, and that's how things are moving.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Yasser. I know I spoke on blockchain in procurement at that meet where we met in Shanghai. And
Yeah,
now it is all the more important blockchain and some smart contracts after coronavirus, because we need to know the sourcing, we need to know the measures taken, we need to have more transparency within procurement and supply chain, and this will
exactly.
really have benefits, and it will be ingrained in every processes. And as you rightly said, this will not be only in procurement and supply chain, but we are seeing it in other industries also. Authors,
Exactly. Yeah.
banking, lawyers, any, it is in the ecosystem. And now even
Eh,
the legally this is getting blessings from the regulation legislative bodies. So it will be ecosystem once it is present. Blockchain and smart contracts will be easy to implement, and especially I also see the future of procurement moving to blockchain and excessive use of smart contracts in coming time. Of course, as you said, it will take some time. If you see the Gartner hype cycle, blockchain and smart contracts and AI and RPA, when they're coming for procurement, or these is like 4 or 5 years down the line, when the
exactly.
technologies will be matured to have
Yeah.
it procurement and supply chain as a default, working in procurement and supply chain as a default using these tools and techniques. So when we
Yeah. Yeah.
talk about
Very.
future technologies and future, Mr. Yasser, what do you think are the future challenges for the procurement professionals?
Well, if you remember the in the Shanghai summit, I one of the talks I've said, I said that I see the severe global crisis have propelled the procurement professional to the spot of light, and at
Mhm.
that time coronavirus was not there.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's true now. I think procurement professional are on the spotlight,
Hmm.
and procurement becomes the main topic among business and leaders.
Right.
So I believe the future challenges will be on the readiness of the profession to
Hmm.
adapt to these external factors,
Yeah.
which can influence the procurement in terms of ready to implement new technology, acquiring the right procurement skills, and
Hmm.
having the leadership skills to influence and raise the profession.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, that's when we've said that global crisis have propelled the procurement professional, uh, we really meant it, and now it's happening.
Yeah. Yes, I know you are seeing leadership in procurement and like giving a chance to procurement professionals to understand the tools and techniques and what to learn from the crisis. I personally have seen you as a leader in Khartoum and leader in Sudan. Because of your initiative, the CIPS branch committee was established, and I've seen the amount of procurement professionals attending your events. I myself was
Okay.
present during your AGM where we had that panel session. I was chairing the panel session that time, and they were, you could get around 400 people in your auditorium. And
Yeah,
I've seen other sessions.
but
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I just want to say I was lucky having a very good SIPS members with me,
Uh huh.
and make it very easy to conduct such events.
Hmm. Yeah, I've attended some of your branch committee meetings as well, in addition to AGM, and I've seen the enthusiasm. And you are taking it further very well and giving chance to young professionals in procurement to participate. And we are seeing more and more addition to body of knowledge from Sudan, be it a webinar or conferences. And you come yourself to UAE number of times. I met you in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. When you come to attend
Yeah,
our conferences or branch committee meetings and other meetings with the CIPS MENA offices, So this type of leadership is really helping the procurement community and the body of knowledge. And of course, you are raising the profile of profession as well as giving opportunities to people, especially in Northern Africa and in Sudan. And on this point, what will be your message to the young procurement professionals um, in your region or in general? What will be your message for the young procurement professionals, Mr. Yassir?
Yeah, okay. Well, first, the conferences and during CIPS and seminars, and we even approach university and students
Yeah.
during our CIPS period. And I see we have a, that's why I said we have a wonderful CIPS members who are doing everything actually. But my message, what I came out of, I like this question because it's really, this is all about why we are volunteering for CIPS.
Yeah.
I would like young procurement professionals to build their skills and be confident, know and raise the game of procurement, raise their game and voice, as one of the chairman of CIPS said,
Yes.
Raise your game, raise your voice.
Yeah, one of our ex-presidents of CIPS said that.
I
he
think
was from
Nigeria.
Only,
yeah,
right?
From Nigeria.
Yes.
We asked him to come to our CIPS, one of the event, and he gave us a written message, but he couldn't make it.
Could not come. Yeah.
Yeah. You are one of the few who came to Sudan, by the way.
And we look forward. I came many times, and we look forward to more interaction, especially with you.
Thank you. That's part of this question. What you came was raising this profession, and I think really from this, I think Master Procurement Talk, I need to thank you. Really, I need to thank you for what you have done to our CIPS Sudan. And I also want to give a message to the young professionals that they need to attend CIPS and supply chain events as much as possible and ask questions.
Yeah.
Before we really ask questions, we I don't know why, but asking question is the main factor of learning. And they also need to learn the challenges facing the supply chain from different organizations.
Yes.
And understand the whole supply chain activity. I used to when I was a contract specialist, I tend to stay in the contract section. I don't like to move to the warehouse. But then when I start growing up in the profession, I found how wrongful doing I have done that during my stay in the contract. Also, I think they need to learn to study and work from home. We have a study center now. We are having now 3 study center, CIPS study center in Sudan. And we have one of the centers start putting their learning courses in line, but the response is weak. I believe this perception should change. We need to cope with the changes worldwide. And finally, very important, they need to get ready for the swift and the big changes in the procurement in terms of digitalization, IoT, blockchain, smart contract technology, what we have mentioned previously.
Yeah. Very well said, Mr. Yassir. A great message to youngsters, and good chance for learning. And these branch committee meetings provide a platform for interaction with the procurement professionals from different industries, different offices. You make your networks. Like when we are meeting now, it is because of the CIPS network. We met in so many countries, in so many conferences, and so many business opportunities we get from the networking itself. So this is a good message to the procurement professionals, young procurement professionals, that they should participate in the events. They can speak, or they can just go and listen and see various perspectives from different industries, and it adds to the knowledge. Mr. Yassir, coming to your personal thing, I really want to know how did you get into procurement and supply chain world? Was it by purpose or was it by accident? How was it?
Mm. It was by accident, Mr. Lalit.
Uh-huh.
And
During our
with
time,
most,
everything was accident. Yeah, but you are fairly
yeah,
younger. Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm not younger, but
Uh-huh.
most of the current, I realized that most of the current senior supply chain managers,
Mm-hmm.
they came to procurement by accident. And
Yes.
I can see it also during your master talk, like
Uh-huh.
Mr. Ian, Mr. Harry, Sarah, and others.
Yeah.
They all came by accident. And
Absolutely.
actually, and the reason for that is that supply chain was not recognized at Sudan at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think in Africa in general, and most of the people would like to work in other departments, especially if they have a technical background.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have in university called Al Ahfad, and
Yes.
I attend one of this procurement summit
Uh-huh.
workshop,
Uh-huh.
and they have their procurement departments and very remarkable teachers, Mr.
Mm.
Dr. Ahmed and others, and they have a very structured syllabus for procurement.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, when I came from USA with a master's degree in construction management, I was aiming to contribute in the oil construction industry in Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I end up in the procurement department, which
Uh-huh.
was the only available vacancy,
Okay.
at that time in the oil company.
Uh-huh.
So I said I will join the procurement till I find a place internally to the construction
Okay.
department. Then I realized the role and benefits
Uh-huh.
of being in the procurement departments, and with my engineering background, I
Mm-hmm.
realized my contribution were extended beyond the construction and civil engineering.
Yes.
And I like the word said by Mr. Ian Heminstel,
Yeah.
which his contribution is in procurement is one known. In one of the master talks, he said that procurement is not a department or a function,
Uh-huh.
but a key business process.
Yes. Yes. I remember
Which,
vividly. Yes.
you remember
Absolutely.
this one?
Yes, I
I
remember.
think you
Yeah.
you even commented on this one, and you liked what I even wrote it down while you're talking. I wrote it down.
Uh-huh.
He mentions that you need a cross-functional input, and that's a remarkable quote.
Right.
If more consideration is given to it, I mean, it's really a remarkable contribution.
I'm glad, Mr. Yasser, and it is quite encouraging for me and our speakers that you are following the talks and you are seeing the good practices and trying to emulate them and trying to make it a part of your personality. Like you have referred to mostly all the speakers, what we brought on the podcast. This is the 9th one. And of course, I've
Actually,
learned so much from this interaction also. So this is the type of you are spending time, you're trying to find best practices, you're trying to find what will work for us, and you recollect that at the right time. So if our young procurement professionals were and other procurement professionals were to use these body of knowledges in positive manner, then this all is worth it, because we bring so many experts like yourself for the talks, and you are giving us your valuable time. And I believe you are in the office and you have restricted this 1 hour only for this purpose. And there are people waiting outside. He told me that. So really, we appreciate that. And really, you are doing full justice, and we have to learn from that. Um, Mr.
thank you,
Yasser,
thank
before
you.
we wrap up, do you want to share any hobbies or any other aspects of your personality with us?
Definitely. Uh, I like swimming and reading, and
Uh-huh.
also listening to like the webinar master talks, and I really like this one. And
Yeah,
really, the
that's
thanks
great.
goes back to you. We have it's not easy to miss, like until now we have
Ninth.
nine
This is
master
ninth
talks,
one.
so
Yes.
it's more than 500 years of experience. It's
Imagine.
not
Yes.
easy to not to attend such. So
Uh-huh.
I also like playing and watching football.
Uh-huh.
And tell you, me and my son are a
Yeah.
big fan of Real Madrid. But at
Uh-huh.
the same time, Lalit, I
Yeah.
adore Messi from Barcelona.
All right.
And
Yeah. Uh-huh.
we adore him as the best player.
Yeah.
People, uh, people see this very strange, but really, as a procurement
Yes.
specialist and a negotiator,
Yeah.
I think we have to respect and acknowledge the other party's capability as well. Like Messi is
Absolutely.
a gift.
Yeah. Very well said. And especially you associating with the sportsman who's passionate and everybody gets impressed by that. And
Yeah, you
like
can.
this, like Sarah said in her master talks, like she is impressed by the sports person seeing their passion. And I also agreed with her. You are saying something similar, like we have to respect and we have to acknowledge other parties' capabilities and see how can maybe probably we can emulate them also.
Yes, Sarah, I
So
can think in gymnasium, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very,
you're
very,
right.
very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, having interacted with you for a few years, and you are so social and you like to invite people for big events as well as for personally. Number of times we had interaction in other places. And I know you like restaurants, and you night meals in the hotels and all. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. This is Sudanese culture, by the way, Lalit.
Yes. And
Social people here are more social than everything else.
yeah, and
So wherever
yeah.
they go, they like to be socialized.
Yeah, and whenever you hold events, even if it is 500 people, it should be full courses. 5 courses should be there, and you are so much particular to see the menu yourself. And maybe that is one of the also reasons, attractions for people to attend. Like, of course, they will be getting a 5-star and a great treatment. So
Yeah,
that is
it's
one of
very
your
yeah,
personalities, one of the traits which I have found, and very good, very
yeah,
receptive and good to talk to at any level. Like everyone says that, irrespective of nationality, irrespective of the position, you are approachable and you encourage others. Uh, yeah,
thank you
Mr.
so
Yasser,
much.
it was really a pleasure to. It was an honor also to have you for these talks, and thanks for your time and great advices. And from your experience, you told us what you have observed, what will be good for the region, what will be good for the youngsters, how digitization and like digitization and e-procurement will help us in coming times, how small companies should act and how big companies will merge, or companies how they can survive after, or not only survive, how can they be sustainable during and after pandemic. So I thank you so much for joining us. Um, and really, it was an honor to have you. So we have put your
Yes.
contact details on the screen. Anybody who wants to contact you later on, they can have these. Your LinkedIn profile is there, link, and your
Sure.
um, uh, email is also present here. Thank
Yeah,
you very
sure.
much for joining us, Mr. Yasser.
Thank you, and thank you for the master talk first, and then thank you, Mr. Lalit, for this wonderful morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Um, Thank you, audience. Thank you for tuning in for the Procurement Master Procurement Talks. And we bring in specialists, procurement specialists, and professionals from all over the world. And we thank you for your support and encouragement. And please make sure to subscribe to these talks uh, on the YouTube channels and CIPS MENA Facebook page. Thank you. Till the time we meet again for the next procurement talk in this series.